There are strongholds in this world, ancient invisible chains passed down through bloodlines, cultures, whispers in the night. I was entangled in them, unknowingly, until he showed me. What I saw, what I was commanded to reveal, it was not for the faint of heart. Even now, I hesitate, but obedience has a cost, and silence has a greater one. He revealed 7 fasting methods that can tear down the gates of hell, but only if we obey. My name is Elian. I never thought I'd share this. Not because it isn't true, but because truth like this rearranges the soul. It follows you in silence. It waits in the marrow of your bones. It won't let you rest. It won't let you pretend. And the longer I stayed quiet, the louder it burned. I was warned that if I lived through it, I would speak. Not from pride, not from insight, but from obedience. Because what I saw, what I was shown in that place beyond reason, was not meant to be locked away in journals and forgotten in fasting closets. He showed me 7. 7 fasts, 7 ancient weapons, 7 forgotten altars drenched in dust and blood, each one forged for tearing down demonic thrones. He did not show me these things because I was worthy. He showed me because I was dying. And in the grip of death, with shadows at my heels and my own appetites chained to my neck, I cried out without sound. I collapsed without falling. And in that moment, he called my name in the dark. Not gently, not sweetly, but like thunder cracking through a sealed tomb. And the name he spoke wasn't the name they gave me at birth. It was the name I had forgotten. The name I had buried beneath indulgence, distraction, and quiet rebellion. What he showed me changed everything. There are spirits that will never be cast out by words. There are patterns that will never be broken by therapy. There are strongholds that mock deliverance because the flesh has never been crucified. You can't rebuke what feeds on your hunger. You can't bind what you've learned to tolerate. You can't be free while still feeding the thing that binds you. I speak this now because it is no longer mine to withhold. These 7 fasting methods, they didn't make me holy. They made me empty. Empty enough to be filled. Empty enough to be remade. Empty enough to see what had always been there, behind the veil of my cravings. There is a fast that silences lust. A fast that dries the tongue of generational curses. A fast that locks the mouth of serpents in your bloodline. A fast that strips demons of their legal right to sit at your table. Each one was revealed with fire, not metaphorical fire. Actual fire, spiritual and unseen, yet searing through marrow and memory. And I'm only here because I obeyed. I obeyed the hunger. I obeyed the call. I obeyed the silence. He called my name in the dark. And now I speak your name, through this screen, through this breath, not because I know you, but because something ancient in you is remembering. You've fasted before, but not like this. You've wept before, but not like this. You've felt something watching you in the quiet. You know the presence I'm describing. And if you're still lingering on this video, still uncertain, still scanning with trembling fingers, then ask yourself, what spirit is whispering hesitation into your ears right now? Are you afraid to subscribe? Or is something afraid of you subscribing? Don't let your delay be an altar to the very thing you're trying to escape. Click it. Or let the demons continue their silent rule over your habits. But know this. Once you've heard these words, you cannot pretend you haven't. He called my name in the dark, and now he's calling yours. Before the fire, there was quiet. Not peace, not joy, just quiet. The kind of quiet that feels more like neglect than rest. A silence that settles over the soul like dust. So gently, so slowly. You forget there was ever color in your prayers. I lived what they call a normal life. Mornings were built on routine, rushing from alarm clocks to coffee cups, scrolling past strangers pretending to be friends, and wearing the name Christian like a badge that no longer meant battle. I read the word, yes, but I read it like a man reading his own obituary. Familiar, lifeless, historical. There was no ache in my reading, no trembling in my fasting, because by then, I had stopped fasting altogether. Prayer became performance, worship became noise, and the altar became optional, and the hunger shifted. I stopped craving righteousness. I craved escape, comfort, relief. I didn't call it sin, I called it self-care. But in truth, I was feeding my wounds instead of letting him heal them. I became full on the wrong things, heavy with things that felt good but left residue, saturated in distractions that smiled but swallowed. And every now and then, there were signs, not dramatic ones, not demons in mirrors or voices in the night. No, my signs were subtler, a heaviness in my chest that prayer couldn't shake, a hollow feeling after eating, like I'd just buried something sacred. Nightmares that clung to my skin like smoke. Laughter that came too quickly. Tears that never came at all. I would wake up tired and stay tired all day. But not the kind of tired sleep could fix. It was soul fatigue. Spirit erosion. But I kept going. Kept pretending. Because what else do you do when your spirit is dying and no one notices? He called my name in the dark, but I hadn't yet heard it, because the noise of my life was louder than his whisper, and I'd trained myself not to hear the soft things, the holy things. I look back now and I see it clearly, the slow unraveling of my spiritual edge, the weakening of my gaze, the way my discernment dulled with every skipped fast, every lazy prayer, every next week I promised him. That's how strongholds begin, not in explosions, but in erosion. I had friends, I had followers, I had a title, but I had no fire. And what is a man without fire? A shell, a speaker, a shadow in a suit. One night I stood in my room, surrounded by light but buried in darkness, and I heard myself whisper, "I don't feel you anymore." No thunder answered, no chills, just silence. That was my turning point. Not because I changed, but because heaven had grown quiet and hell had grown comfortable. He called my name in the dark, but at the time, I was too full to be found. So he allowed the shaking, he allowed the unraveling, because love sometimes steps back so you can fall far enough to feel the ground give way beneath your idols. I was functioning, but I was fading, breathing, but not burning. And some of you know this exact ache. You're living it right now. Numb in the presence of glory, choking on the things you once craved. You sense something ancient watching you through your phone screen. You feel something tugging your name out of the static of your scroll. And yet, you wait. You hesitate. So ask yourself now, if you recognize yourself in this part of the story, and you still haven't subscribed, then what will it take? An attack? A loss? Another empty altar with your name on it? Don't wait until the storm forces you to bow. Don't wait until the demons stop knocking and start entering. Subscribe now. Not because I need you to, but because something in you already knows, the fire is near. And when it comes, you'll either be consumed or refined. He called my name in the dark. Now he's calling yours. Will you answer full, or will you answer empty? Return to the fire. There are moments that don't announce themselves. They slip in like smoke beneath a locked door, not loud, not violent, just final. They don't wait for you to be ready. They don't ask for your permission. They simply come, and everything changes. Mine came on a night like any other. No thunder, no prophecy, just me. And a silent war I didn't know had reached its climax. I remember sitting alone. The lights low, the house still. My phone in one hand, a half-eaten plate of food in the other. And then, something stopped. Not outside me, inside. It was like my spirit took a step back and watched my body from a distance. My chest tightened, my breath scattered. And before I could speak or stand or pray, the silence became a presence. Not peace, something else, something cold, something ancient. I fell, not physically, but through layers I didn't know existed, like a soul peeling back from its own flesh, like sleep that goes too deep, too fast, and doesn't bring you back. I was no longer in the room, no longer tethered to time or language or skin. I was suspended in something both endless and suffocating. I could still think, but I couldn't move, and that's when I saw it. The veil, not torn, not open, but thin. So thin I could see what hides behind what we call normal. I saw them, not with eyes, with knowing, entities, movements, spirits without shape, feeding, circling, watching. And they weren't strangers, they were familiar. They lived in the background of my choices. They had been invited through compromise. They were fed by delay. They were strengthened every time I postponed a fast, every time I excused a craving, every time I numbed a conviction with a screen. And they were not passive. They were waiting, not for my death, but for my fullness. Because they do not feed on flesh alone. They feed on satisfaction, on distraction, on the bloated places in a believer's life. I was too full to fight, too full to flee, too full to burn. And in that suspended state, where time had no hold and breath had no meaning, I finally understood. Fasting is not a ritual. It's not a diet. It's not spiritual ambition. It is war. And I had gone to war without a weapon. I had charged into battle wearing the garments of comfort, singing songs of victory while my soul was shackled to things I refused to surrender. He called my name in the dark, and when he did, everything trembled. Not from terror, but from recognition. The name he spoke was not the one the world knew. It was the name forged in fire, etched in hunger, sealed in the silence between death and awakening. And when he spoke it, the shadows recoiled. Because they remembered. Him, even if I had forgotten. The warmth of his voice was not comfort. It was confrontation. He didn't come to soothe. He came to cut. To sever the cords I had woven with my own hands, to break the pacts I made with pleasure. He called my name in the dark, and suddenly, I saw myself. Not the version I had curated, but the version I had buried. A man called but disobedient, marked but distracted, gifted but entangled. And beneath it all, a hunger I had silenced for years. It screamed now, not with words, but with the ache of a soul that remembered what fasting tasted like, that remembered fire, that remembered holiness, that remembered him. I wish I could tell you I came back gently, that I opened my eyes and wept with gratitude, but no, I came back gasping, panicked, bruised in the places that cannot be seen. I came back like a man who had walked through the graveyard of his own prayers and found them cold, unopened, unanswered. Not because heaven refused, but because I did. I did not fast. I did not seek. I fed my demons and starved my altar. And the Lord, in mercy, let me see it. He called my name in the dark. And he said, "Now you must speak." Because fasting, real fasting, doesn't begin in the stomach. It begins in the grave. It begins where your will dies, and his begins, where your cravings rot, and his holiness rises. That's where strongholds break. That's where chains disintegrate. That's where demons lose legal ground. But most of us, we never get there. We fast to impress. We fast to manipulate. We fast while still feeding the soul garbage through our eyes and ears. But that kind of fast doesn't touch the second heaven. It doesn't move angels. It doesn't stir heaven's war rooms. I learned the hard way. You don't fast to lose weight. You fast to lose bondage. You fast to reclaim your name, to be called again correctly, to return to the fire. Because if you don't, if you keep playing with sacred things, If you keep dancing on the edges of the altar with dirty hands and full bellies, eventually, He will let you see the ones who are feeding off your silence. He will let you feel what they feel. He will let you fall far enough to finally call it war. And when you do, you'll realize what I did. Fasting isn't optional. It is the language of survival. It is the weapon of the remnant. It is the diet of the desperate. He called my name in the dark, and I answered empty. Because only empty things can be filled. Return to the fire. When the breath returned to my body, it did not come with relief. It came with weight, a holy weight, like waking up drenched in eternity. Not the kind that makes you shout or run, but the kind that makes you weep quietly without knowing why. He called my name in the dark, and I crossed over. I don't know if I died, not in the way medicine measures it, but something in me passed through. From flesh to flame, from noise to stillness, from exile to the edge of glory. There are no clocks there, no language, no walls, only presence, only awareness. Like standing in a thought God had before the world began. It is still, but not empty. It is silent, but not quiet. It is alive with a kind of thunder that doesn't shake the ground. It shakes you. I couldn't move my mouth. I didn't need to. Everything was understood before it could be spoken. I stood, or floated, I don't know, in a realm of living light. Not the kind of light that shines on things, the kind that knows things. It moved like wind, yet had weight like gold. It wrapped itself around my thoughts, pulled memory from my marrow, and read me like a psalm I had forgotten I was written in. He called my name in the dark, and now the dark was gone. Even my shadows had no place to hide here. The peace was not peace as we define it. It was authority, stillness with a crown. I felt no hunger, no thirst. But I also knew, if I had brought my pride here, it would have burst into flame. This place was truth, not spoken, not argued, just present. And in it, I saw others, not in form, but in essence. Souls that shimmered with remembrance. Some wore robes of fire, some robes of mourning, but all of them pulsed with a kind of recognition. I was not alone. Some of these souls, they wept without tears. Others sang without sound. They were not speaking to me. They were interceding. Not for themselves, for us, for Earth, for this age, for those who had not yet seen the veil pulled back. He called my name in the dark and brought me into the place where intercession lives. And then I was led, not by hand, not by voice, but by pull, like my spirit was summoned into a chamber older than Eden. There was no door, yet I passed through, and inside, a room without roof or floor, yet it stretched beyond sky and stone. In the center, a table not made of wood but of revelation, alive, breathing, and upon it, 7 scrolls. Each sealed, each burning with an invisible flame, each one pulsing with names I did not yet know how to read, but somehow I knew. They were names of strongholds, and each scroll was a weapon. I approached not like a student, not like a soldier, but like a child returning to a place I once lived in but forgot. Because these scrolls, they were not new. They were old, ancient, older than language, older than man, older than sin. They had been given before, to prophets, to priests, to those willing to empty themselves in deserts. But they had been lost in this generation, buried beneath algorithms, hidden beneath soft sermons, erased from pulpits drunk on applause. And now they were being revealed again, not because I was holy, but because I was empty. And then the words came, not from a voice, but from the light itself. You were brought here to remember. The phrase echoed, but not outward. It echoed through me, through every forgotten corner of my calling, through every prayer I'd whispered and abandoned, through every fast I broke before breakthrough could reach me. You were brought here to remember. I fell, but there was no ground, only surrender. Because now I knew I had known these scrolls once, not in this life, but before flesh, before forgetting. My spirit had held these truths once like a sword, but I traded them for convenience, and now mercy was handing them back. He called my name in the dark, and now he whispered, "Return to the fire." I felt the weight of the scrolls even before I touched them. Not in my hands, in my spirit. Each one revealed not just a fast, but a battle, a curse, a throne that could only be pulled down by hunger. They were not formulas, they were keys. Keys forged in ancient fire for strongholds most churches don't believe exist anymore, and I knew I would be asked to carry them back, not in my memory, but in my life, in my words, in my hunger. I didn't want the assignment. I wanted to stay, to melt into the light, to never return to the noise of flesh and screens and endless scrolling. But obedience is never comfort. It is cost. And I had vowed, if I lived, I would tell it. So he called my name in the dark, and now he is calling yours. You were brought here to remember. Return to the fire. Return to the fast. Return to the place where demons lose their language. This is not a teaching. It's a summons. He called my name in the dark, and the scrolls opened. He called my name in the dark, and the scrolls opened. But it wasn't the scrolls that silenced me. It was him. I didn't see his face, not in the way we imagine. No beard, no robe, no soft glow, just fire, just light, just truth. Folded into form, alive with authority, and pulsing with a love so severe it shattered every defense I'd ever built. He stood, or hovered, or maybe he was the space itself. But I knew it was him, the one I had worshipped with cold lips, the one I had spoken of with borrowed language, the one I had used to build platforms instead of altars. And he looked at me, not like a stranger, not like a sinner, but like a sculptor staring at a half-finished work, one he still refused to abandon. There was no accusation in him, but neither was there compromise. He didn't condemn me, he didn't flatter me, he revealed me. And with one glance, one holy glance, my life unfolded like parchment before him. Every skipped fast, every half-hearted prayer, every temptation I labeled human instead of calling it what it was. An invasion. I saw them, all of them, the moments I negotiated with sin, the secret things I thought had died, the gifts I buried in sand because obedience would have cost me applause. They stood in rows, silent witnesses to my delays. And still, he did not withdraw. He called my name in the dark, and now he spoke, not with lips, but with essence. Not words, but knowing. And what I knew in that moment was this. The war was never about behavior. It was never about trying harder or sinning less. It was always about structures. Not the visible kind, but the invisible thrones that demons build out of your appetites. He let me see them. Not in my body, in my bloodline, in my city, in the invisible scaffolding that wraps around entire families, built on patterns, cemented by excuses, protected by culture, and empowered by spiritual passivity. And he said nothing aloud, but I heard everything. The 7 scrolls, they are not for cleansing behavior, they are for tearing down kingdoms. That's when it struck me. These fasting methods weren't given to make me feel holy. They were given to make the enemy feel homeless. Because I had been casting out symptoms, not strongholds. I had been rebuking what I still fed. I had been praying against what I refused to starve. He called my name in the dark and showed me the hidden altars I never meant to build. Altars of comfort, of entertainment, of distraction. and I realized every altar I neglect becomes a throne for something else. Fasting, real fasting, doesn't simply remove food. It removes access. It closes gates. It breaks covenants. And now I saw it. Why? The scrolls had been sealed. Because to open them before emptying myself would have made them information, not revelation. But I was emptied. I had nothing left to cling to, nothing left to justify, nothing left to hide behind. Only him. Only flame. He called my name in the dark and gave me no compliment, only commission, not with fanfare, not with a crown, but with a charge so sacred it made me tremble. Speak. That was it. No theology, no 5-point sermon, just the burning certainty that what I had seen I was now accountable to release. And I tell you this now not to impress you, but to warn you. You cannot unhear this. You cannot unsee what your spirit is witnessing even now. These are not poetic words. This is a summons, a sound beneath the sound. And if your ears are open, your soul already knows. The fire is calling you too. So if you walk away from this truth and don't subscribe, then at least enter the comments and explain why. Let others read your excuse in public. Let the Spirit bear witness. Because after hearing this, you are no longer ignorant. You are accountable. Return to the fire. Return to the fast. Return to the place where demons have no say and flesh has no crown. He called my name in the dark, and he is calling yours, not to shame you, but to summon you, not to flatter you, but to reforge you. The scrolls are real, the fire is moving, and your hunger will decide what happens next. Choose wisely. He called my name in the dark, and I saw the scrolls open, not with noise but with reverence, like ancient doors creaking before a holy wind, like bones remembering the voice that knit them together, like thunder dressed in silence, and each scroll pulsed with light. Not ordinary light, but living flame. Flame that carried memory, instruction, warfare. Each one held a secret, a weapon, a method, a fast. Not 7 options, 7 keys. Not for the curious, not for the casual. These were for the ones who were done with being devoured. These were for the ones who had tried everything else, except obedience. He called my name in the dark, and the revelation began. The first scroll, dry fast. No food, no water, just spirit, naked before God, starving everything unclean. It was the fast of Elijah in the wilderness, the fast of Jesus in the desert. It strips the flesh bare. It starves the roots of lust, addiction, self-idolatry. He showed me people chained not by demons but by indulgence. Chains forged not in hell but in comfort. Addictions hiding in personality quirks. Lust dressed up as normal struggle. Self-idolatry masked as self-care. And the only thing that could slay them was nothing. No flavor, no pleasure, no compromise, just thirst, just silence, just hunger that burns louder than the demons inside. He whispered through the flame. They want freedom without sacrifice, but deliverance is bought in hunger. The second scroll, the Daniel fast. Vegetables, water, discipline, no wine, no oil, no rich food, no distractions. He showed me religious spirits, not in the world, but in pulpits. Pride disguised as doctrine. Ego masquerading as revelation. People using scripture to protect themselves from conviction. This fast doesn't just cleanse the body, it crushes the ego. It humbles the religious mind and silences the voice that says, "I already know enough." He said, "This fast breaks the mirror." And I saw leaders fall to their knees, weeping, as they realized they had been preaching truth but living in pride. The third scroll, the Esther fast. 3 days, no food, no water, complete surrender. This was the fast of royal intercession. It breaks ancestral covenants. It severs generational witchcraft. It disrupts ancient agreements sealed in blood and silence. He took me into bloodlines, families where daughters never marry, where sons always fall, where wealth disappears, where minds are tormented in patterns too precise to be random. I saw women weeping at midnight, fathers drowning in secret shame, and children born under curses they never agreed to, but inherited like graveyard deeds. And this fast was the axe. The Lord whispered, "Some altars are not broken by prayer alone. They must be suffocated by silence and thirst." The fourth scroll, the night fast. From sundown to sunup, fasting when the world is asleep. He showed me the night realm, the hour of marine spirits, of soul pollutions, of incubus and succubus creeping in through unguarded sleep. He said, "Many of my children are tormented at night because they feed themselves to sleep with flesh." The night fast reclaims the hours of darkness. It seals the gates. It sets fire around the bed. It turns sleep into warfare and dreams into downloads. I saw people wake up without shame, without residue, without that invisible film of darkness that sticks to the soul like sweat. This fast cleanses the night. He called my name in the dark, and he gave me a weapon for every hour of it. The fifth scroll, the prophetic fast. Not for daily maintenance, but for divine release. It unlocks stagnant promises. It breaks the brass ceilings. It confronts the spirits that stand at the threshold and whisper, "You'll never get there." He showed me visions suspended, blessings hovering just outside reach, ministries choked in delay, dreams rotting in holding patterns. He said, "This fast is for the called, but delayed, the anointed, but stuck." And when this fast is done, not half-hearted but desperate, the gates open. The delay dies, the wilderness ends, the Jordan parts. I saw barren women conceive. I saw authors finish books. I saw missionaries sent. I saw the almost become now, because hunger is what midwives destiny. The sixth scroll, the corporate fast. He showed me cities, nations, churches entangled in principalities that individuals couldn't confront alone. This was the fast of Esther's people, of Nineveh, of Joel's trumpet. One voice alone is a whisper, but unified hunger is a shaking. When people fast together, not as trend, not as challenge, but as desperation, altars fall, family altars, cultural strongholds, territorial spirits. This fast isn't for pride, it's for possession, to take back ground, to tear down towers, to dethrone invisible kings ruling over cities with chains of tradition and sin. And I saw it. Fires breaking out in churches. Not literal flames, but glory, fear of God, revival that didn't need a mic or fog machine. Because when many hunger, he comes. The seventh scroll, the lifestyle fast. And this one was the sharpest sword of all. Not an event, not a season, a life. This fast didn't begin or end. It was breathing sacrifice. It was choosing holiness in the hidden. It was saying no every day so that demons starve and the spirit feasts. He showed me people who fasted for weeks but returned to compromise. He said, "They fast demons out but leave the door open. The lifestyle fast closes the door and nails it shut." It is daily obedience, daily silence when flesh wants to speak, daily stillness when distraction knocks, daily purity, daily dying. I saw saints who lived this way, quiet, unseen, yet feared in hell. Because when you live hungry, you stay armed. He called my name in the dark, and he told me to reveal what I saw. These 7 fasts, they are not optional. They are not upgrades. They are assignments. Each one targeting a demon that has worn your name like a trophy. And yet, so many refuse. Because they want freedom without fasting, victory without sacrifice, power without purity. But this is not that gospel. This is fire. And now that you've heard it, you are no longer unaware. He called my name in the dark, and now he is calling yours. Return to the fire. Pick up your scroll. Starve the thing that's been feeding off your delay. because freedom is still possible, but only for the hungry. He called my name in the dark, and I stood trembling in the light of revelation. Scrolls burning behind my eyes, truths too heavy for casual speech. I thought the vision was over. I thought the unveiling had ended. But the fire had only begun to breathe. I was lifted, not by wings, not by hands, but by prophecy. And what I saw, I have no words for it, only fragments, only echoes. But I will try, because I made a vow. If I lived, I would speak. He called my name in the dark, and then he showed me us. Not the broken church we see now, not the divided, distracted, diluted people we've become, but a remnant, a fasting army, unseen, unknown, but unmistakably chosen. I saw them rising from places no one expects. Slums, prisons, deserts, back rooms of broken churches. Not famous, not favored by man, but burning. Burning with hunger, burning with truth, burning with an ache to see God again. As he is, not as we've made him. They were not eloquent. They were not rich. But their faces glowed, and the demons recognized them. I saw them in clusters, kneeling in homes where curses once reigned, fasting for families that had never seen peace. And one by one, the chains broke. I saw fathers come home. I saw mothers stand up. I saw children set free from the silent torment of ancestral debts, generational curses, things we laughed off in memes, crumbled like ash. He whispered again. You were brought here to remember. And I remembered, not just the fasts, but the calling. Because this was never just about demons, it was about destiny. I saw nations trembling, not from war, but from worship. Not the loud kind, not the polished kind, but the kind that came from pure rooms, from floors soaked in prayer, from voices that didn't care if they sounded beautiful. They only wanted him. There was no fog machine, no countdown timer, just glory. The glory that terrifies, the glory that heals, the glory that silences addiction in seconds and makes grown men fall without needing to be pushed. He called my name in the dark, and he showed me a shift. The global stage was changing. False prophets were being exposed, entertainment altars were being torn down, the wheat was being separated from the plastic, and the ones who rose were the hungry. Those who fasted not for fame, but for fire. I saw leaders trembling in back rooms, finally breaking under the pressure of their own performances. And I saw new voices rise, from caves, from closets, from nations we don't even translate sermons from yet. And their message wasn't fancy. It was ancient. Return to the fire. I saw continents shift in the spirit, entire regions bowed, whole cities repenting without any evangelist present. Because the fire itself had arrived, it came through worship that honored truth, through prayer that hurt, through fasting that cost something. And I saw youth, so many of them, not deceived, but awakened. Young people turning off the noise, throwing away their idols, choosing hunger over hype, carrying scrolls in their spirit and authority in their voice. Some were only 12, some had tattoos and trauma and no Bible school degree, but the demons knew them by name. He called my name in the dark, and he said again, You were brought here to remember. I remembered the groan of creation, the ache in my own bones, the dreams I buried in the name of being realistic, the fire I let flicker for the sake of fitting in, and he showed me. This awakening will not be gentle. It will offend. It will divide. It will expose everything not born in hunger. But it will also restore. I saw altars rebuilt. I saw elders crying. I saw marriages healed in silence, just from the presence entering the room. And in the center of it all, not a man, not a woman, not a brand, but the Lamb. Not the tame version, not the Pinterest Jesus, but the one with eyes like fire and a voice like many waters. He called my name in the dark, and he showed me that the fire is coming, not as destruction, but as reformation. And those who fast now will lead then. Those who bow now will rise in the shaking. Those who surrender everything will carry the scrolls. So I say to you, not from pride, not from panic, but from prophecy. You were brought here to remember. The world must be shaken before it can be restored. Return to the fire, not tomorrow, not when you feel inspired. Now. Because the vision is not entertainment. It is an invitation. You have seen what I saw. You have heard what I heard. And now, your hunger will decide your harvest. He called my name in the dark, and now he is calling yours. He called my name in the dark, and when I opened my eyes again, I was back. Back in the body. Back in the noise. Back in the world that had forgotten the ancient paths. But everything had changed. The lights were too bright, the sounds too shallow, the air too thin, like the atmosphere of this world no longer recognized me. I walked among the living, but I was carrying the dead, carrying the weight of revelation, carrying the scrolls inside my spirit, still burning, still whispering, still heavy with eternity. At first, I tried to be quiet. I thought maybe I had imagined it all. Maybe it was just a dream, a divine hallucination stitched together by hunger and prayer. But then the resistance began, and I remembered again. Hell doesn't fight what isn't dangerous. It started in the night. The dreams changed. I saw serpents slithering around my bed, faces I recognized, twisted in the dark. Old addictions knocking on my door in the skin of new opportunities. I'd wake up choking, sweating, heart pounding, as if someone had been sitting on my chest whispering, "Shut up. Forget what you saw." But I couldn't forget. I wasn't allowed to forget. He called my name in the dark. I tried to speak, gently at first. I told my friends, my church, the pastors I used to look up to. I told them the fire is coming, that the scrolls are real, that fasting is no longer optional. It is a war plan. They smiled. They nodded politely. And then they avoided me. Some said I was too intense, too emotional, too deep. They asked me to tone it down, make the message more palatable, more marketable. They offered me stages if I'd just adjust the fire to fit the room. But how do you edit a flame? How do you dress up a sword in soft fabric and still expect it to cut? They didn't want to fast. They wanted to feast. They didn't want to war. They wanted to be entertained. And so, I was left alone, marked, mocked, misunderstood. He called my name in the dark. And now the world called me strange. The backlash wasn't just social, it was spiritual. My phone would glitch when I tried to post about the scrolls. Emails would vanish. Power would cut during prayer. Voices in the dark would mock me in sleep. Even my health buckled. Fevers with no explanation. Tremors. Silence in my ears. Then sudden ringing when I tried to pray. But I remembered what he said. This is not resistance. This is reaction. Because prophetic fasting doesn't just offend flesh. It starves demons. And hell hates hunger. I came to realize I wasn't just being attacked, I was being noticed. Every fast I completed was cutting off something. Something that had fed off my laziness, my old distractions, my comfortable sin. The moment I began to walk in daily hunger, I stopped being prey and became a threat. He called my name in the dark, and now the darkness knows my name too. But it wasn't just me. I began to see patterns in others. Old friends falling into sudden depression, children manifesting night terrors, marriages breaking for no visible reason, and the Spirit said, "They are being devoured because no one is fasting. You are not safe by accident. You are safe because someone fasted for you. A grandmother who skipped meals instead of lectures. A mother who wept in silence while you partied. a man you'll never meet who groaned in tongues for hours so your soul could find mercy. Will your children say the same about you? Or will they inherit your demons because you were too busy, too numb, too proud to fast? Hell has a meal plan, and if you don't fast, you're feeding it. He called my name in the dark, and I will not be silent, because silence is how legacies are destroyed. Subscribe to the Serene Bible. Not to follow me, but to follow fire, to stay tethered to truth when the noise is rising. Don't let your silence write your legacy. Let your hunger write it instead. Return to the fire, not for comfort, but for conquest. He called my name in the dark, and I said yes. What will you say? He called my name in the dark, and I rose, trembling with the weight of the scrolls stitched into my spirit. Now I must speak what burns within me, because this is not a sermon. This is a summons. There is a war for your appetite, a war for your attention, a war for your soul. Not loud, not obvious, but daily, invisible, strategic. They war through your cravings. They war through your screen time. They war through your endless scrolling, through the small choices that feel innocent but end in addiction, in apathy, in abandonment of the altar. He called my name in the dark, and he showed me. Appetite is altar. What you feed, you serve. What you starve, you slay. And if you don't choose your fast, hell will choose your bondage. Fasting is not for prophets only. It is not for spiritual elites or mystics on mountaintops. It is not for those with time. It is for those who want to survive. The famine ahead will not be one of food. It will be spiritual, a drought of truth, a scarcity of clarity, a silence in the heavens for those who have traded hunger for convenience. And many who sing, many who preach, many who post and perform, will not endure, because they never learned to starve their flesh until their spirit could speak again. He called my name in the dark, and he showed me that fasting is not denial, it is alignment. When you fast, you return to the rhythm of Eden. You listen without interference. You rise without dead weight. But most refuse, because it costs. Fasting will humble you, expose you. It will show you who you really are when comfort is stripped away. It will silence the false self you've built around food and phone and applause. It will bring you to your knees. And then, it will raise you in power. So if you're watching this, it means heaven is recruiting you. You did not stumble into this video. You were summoned, marked, not by me, but by the God who still whispers in dark rooms to souls willing to burn. This is your call to rise, not emotionally, not momentarily, but sacrificially. Begin this week, one of the 7, just one. Start with the Daniel fast. Silence the noise of pride and performance, or the night fast. Break what attacks you while you sleep. Start with what confronts you. Start where it hurts. Start where the devil hides. But start. Because delay is not innocent. Delay is demonic. If you wait to subscribe, you won't remember this video later. It will be swallowed in noise, buried under distractions custom-built to erase it. Demons specialize in delay. They whisper, later, not now, tomorrow. But tomorrow is a lie. Tomorrow is how legacies are lost. Obey now. Click subscribe before the scroll closes on your name. This is not about following a channel. It is about following fire. The Serene Bible is not a platform. It is a holy cry in the wilderness. It is a torch for the fasting ones, a place where the scrolls are not forgotten. He called my name in the dark, and now he is calling yours. Return to the fire, return to the fast, return to the vow you made before the noise took you. Begin now, before your hunger forgets again. He called my name in the dark, and I answered with trembling lips and a fractured heart. But what I did not know was that answering would cost me everything I once called safe. Now I speak not as a teacher, not as a preacher, not as someone with all the answers, but as one who survived obedience. And I need you to understand, this isn't just my story, it's yours. Because the chains I saw, the spirits that feed in silence, the altars built in secret places, they are not far from you, they are around you. Some are in you, and you feel it, don't you? That quiet, gnawing ache, that sense that something sacred is missing, that your prayers have grown thin, that your fire flickers and your appetite betrays you. You were brought here to remember the old path, the ancient cry, the hidden weapons we abandoned for conferences and comfort. You were brought here to remember that hunger is holy, that fasting is not for the desperate, but for the devoted. This is not inspiration, this is invitation, a divine warning dressed in whisper. And you have to ask yourself now, will you rise? Or will you remain asleep? Because I've seen what's coming, and casual Christianity will not survive it. Trendy spirituality will not stand in it. Only the fasting ones, the broken ones, the consecrated ones, will see the dawn after the shaking. He called my name in the dark, and I saw churches crumble under the weight of their own entertainment. I saw pulpits fall silent as their prophets lost oil. I saw homes taken hostage by spirits that entered through open fridges and idle screens, and I saw a remnant, small, hidden, not loud, not liked, but lit with fire. A remnant of fasting ones, a remnant of those who prayed until their voice cracked, who wept between the porch and the altar, who walked away from feasts just to hear one whisper from God. You were brought here to remember what it costs to be clean, to remember what it takes to be free, to remember that Jesus fasted, not to be spiritual, but to survive the wilderness. We will not endure the end without returning to the beginning. So I plead with you, not from fear, but from holy love. Return to the Gospels. Not the filtered ones, not the edited ones, but the raw, bloody, burning truth of Christ crucified. Return to truth. Not your truth, not culture's truth, but the truth that offends flesh and frees the soul. Return to Christ. Not the image made in our image, not the passive, politically correct Christ, but the one who sweat blood in Gethsemane, who fasted 40 days, so he could endure 40 lashes and still whisper forgiveness. He called my name in the dark, and I answer now in your hearing. Because if I remained silent, the stones would cry out. So here is my final vow. I will not feast while others starve. I will not scroll while demons sow. I will not sleep while the scrolls still burn inside me. And you, if you've heard even one sentence and felt something move in the hollow of your spirit, then you know this wasn't a video. It was a mirror. Fast. Pray. Weep between the porch and the altar. Because compromise has a price, and silence has a voice, and delay is still disobedience dressed in politeness. The time is now. Choose. He called my name in the dark, and now he is calling yours. Will you rise, or will you remain asleep?